and welcome to Talk Truth. My name is Corey Huntsberger. I've got my father, Alan Huntsberger, in the studio. Dad, we're going to start off with our foundational verse. The earth and everything in it, the world and its inhabitants belong to the Lord, for he laid its foundation on the seas and established it on the rivers. Psalm 24, 1 and 2. Powerful verse, tons of meaning. It's exciting to read that verse, Alan. I don't know. You know, on tough days, I read that verse. And on good days, I read that verse. The verse never changes, and today's a good day. We've got some interesting conversation, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's beautiful because that verse tells me lots. And one of the things it tells me is that God owns every leader. Living in truth means recognizing that every ruler, every leader, and every nation ultimately belongs to God. Psalms 47:9 says, the leaders of the earth belong to God, and he is greatly exalted, which means kings, presidents, and parliaments rise and fall, but the throne of heaven never shakes, and God alone appoints authority and removes it. And when we see chaos in governments or corruption among the powerful, we can rest knowing that the Lord still reigns. He rules from eternity, and his purposes will stand. So today, lift your eyes above human power and remember, God is king over all the earth. That's my thoughts.
Very true. Those are good thoughts. Really, really, really good thoughts. I'm excited about our guests. They are probably exhausted, but they look good. We've got Shawn and Teresa Buckley here on the show. Guys, welcome.
Oh, so glad to be here. And
so good.
And Alan, I really liked what you just said because I can look at the world around me and just think that everything's in chaos. But the reality is our God is in control of everything. And he allows things to happen so that we learn, so that we get to choose to walk with him, so that we get to pursue the destiny and the steps he's placed before us. And when I lose track of that, I feel weak, I feel despondent, I feel anxiety. But when I remember that, it's just you have this, it almost feels like he's wrapping you in his arms and everything's okay.
Yeah. Well, our culture kind of tells us our failure. In other words, we did not stand for the Lord. We did not stand for truth. We either were afraid, we were either silent, or we didn't even think about it. And I'm particularly grieved about that because over my studying, and particularly the book I'm writing, The Supremacy of God and the Rule of Law, Back to Reality, in my own lifetime, I've seen the government change from we used to call Canada Day the Dominion Day to now where we are today. And I think that, it's a call for all of us as believers to take our stand and to do like what you guys are doing, going across the country, waking people up, getting people involved. That's exactly what we should be doing.
I shared a story we ended in Ottawa on the 25th at an event at Bikers Church. And I shared a story when I was young at the public library in Saskatoon. I watched a World War II movie. It was black and white, and it was taken by the German army. And what the film showed was the German army lining up civilians against a wall to be shot. And there's no sound, but you see all the rifles go up except one, and then the rifles go down, and the officer walks over and talks to the one that didn't raise his rifle. And he sets his rifle down and he walks to the wall. And then the officer leaves and the order goes to fire and all the rifles go up and they fire. And most people think, well, that's an important story because here was somebody not willing to murder civilians and stood up. But the real story is that every other soldier was willing to follow orders and murder civilians. And so God's people need to stand up. Evil doesn't rest. Evil doesn't sleep. We need to take action and prevent people from raising those rifles ever again. We have to take that personal responsibility, and that's why we're here. We're here to do what's right.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, we've got some incredible clips, and but I wanted to ask you, one, you guys just wrapped up 3 weeks of traveling across the nation with that beautiful yellow bug or bus behind you. I want to know, one, where you are right now, and then if you could just give us an overview of your full experience now that you've captured it. You're not in the middle of it. You're not starting. You're not, you've done it all. I just want to hear your thoughts of what you feel is happening in our nation and what's going on. Where are you guys right now, by the way?
Okay. So, do you want to share where we are?
We're in Ottawa.
Still. Okay.
No.
We've stayed another day because there's another MP that wants to meet with us. We've got to go downtown and meet with this other MP. When we started this journey, so we started on October 4th in Victoria, and we've been holding live events all the way to Ottawa, finishing on October 25th. All we knew is we were supposed to do this. And, if we were just perfectly honest, everything was, it was all we could do to put this on. We're just a small group. We were literally working dusk to dawn. We were exhausted when we started. And all of these events are hosted by volunteers. And everyone was encouraging. Like, everyone was encouraging. And at everyone, there were people that came up and said, hey, we saw you on Talk Truth. And then they start talking about how much they love Talk Truth, how much they love Alan, how much they love Corey. And there's just this, there was this common theme, and Teresa will back me up on this, that this show has given people hope. It's almost like it's been an anchor for people to, I'm getting emotional here, an anchor for people to hold on to. So, I just want to ask people to continue praying for Corey and Alan, continue praying that God would speak through this show, because God's been using you guys to give people hope. And that's been encouraging. And so the Talk Truth community, we came to expect there would be some there, and we can always pray with them. And so we would have just people we didn't know until that night, and we'd be praying all along the way.
They were always on time. They were always early, always in the front row.
Yay!
There, and they would just start talking like they just know us, that it was just,
It was fun.
because we all follow Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Amen.
Shawn, keep going. I want to hear, I want to know the places you visited, where the highest turnouts came from. I'm sure some of those places would shock us. Go for it.
Well, yes and no. Okay, so now understand that there was also a group that started in Quebec City and did stops along the way, including Montreal, and then, there was Charlottetown and Fredericton and Whitehorse. But Teresa and I, we went Victoria, Vancouver, Aldergrove, Kelowna, Kamloops, Grand Prairie, Lloydminster, Saskatoon, Edmonton, 2 in Edmonton, Lloydminster, Saskatoon, Winnipeg, Collingwood, Barrie, and then, really 3 events in Ottawa. So, and all in a 3-week period, driving across the land. And so where would be the most attendance? Winnipeg, probably. It was just packed. Like, they had a big room, and it was standing room only. Where do you think the next one would be? Because Vancouver, it was a big venue, so there were a lot of people there too. But I'd say Winnipeg was the biggest.
And what was interesting about Winnipeg was there was so many people from Talk Truth.
Well, the first 2 rows were all
That they were just, the first 2 rows were just Talk Truth people. And shout out to Christy.
From Miami, Manitoba. Yeah, so that couple of Talk Truth people drove from Miami to the Winnipeg event. Miami, Manitoba.
Oh,
so
God.
They are just, so what were their names again?
Christy and Teresa.
And they are hardcore Talk Truth viewers.
Well,
so they just love this show. So
I bring this up because I know, when you're planning an event like this, you don't know if it's going to be successful. You don't even know if anyone's going to show up. And I know you guys had success. I know there are many times where the rooms were packed, that there are people standing up against the wall. I know that this is a historical event. Everyone involved, everyone from your volunteers to the people that drove to come and see you guys, to the people that were there on the Hill on October 25th. This is a historical event, and I feel it. I know you guys feel it. Alan feels it. And you did everything very, very well. It's the third largest petition ever in the history of Canada. And you even were on CPAC, and it's a 20-minute, speech that you did. It's great. We've heard a lot of what you said before, but there's something you said at the end of your CPAC speech that I want to play, because it really will show kind of, where we're at right now as a nation, which is really, really sad, but it's really, really eye-opening. Watch this.
We were just informed that there's no reporters in the Zoom room. There are no reporters in present. That in itself is a story, obviously not for the mainstream media. But how often is it that citizens feel the need to band together and basically create a health charter just to entrench the rights that we already have, not to create anything new, and just to change the regulatory environment to ensure that we have access to vital nutrients? That in itself is a news story, but for some reason that's objectionable. Well, here we have the third largest paper petition to be delivered to Parliament in our 157 years as a nation. That is news. Whether you support what the petition for is not, that is news. And yet we have had a professional editor draft 2 press releases, one at the beginning of the tour and one for this press conference, and have, paid the wire service to send it out to the media, done everything that we absolutely can to draw the media's attention to this. And then the way that this was structured with, grassroots Canadians basically going across the land with volunteers organizing event after event after event, where in almost all of them it was standing room only. That is also news. So I think we'll just recognize at the end of this press conference that the absence of the media here tells us something. It's like in Sherlock Holmes, the dog that didn't bark was a clue. And I think that means that we're going to have a lot of work for us going forward to get responsibility over our own bodies back.
I am so glad, Shawn, that you said that. It is so true and so eye-opening, but also for people that watch the show and follow you guys, it's also no surprise. I mean, we are the media. You guys are the media. Everyone who watches Talk Truth, everyone that follows NCI or what you're doing, Shawn and Teresa going across the country, you guys, and Teresa, I'm going to let you share a little bit what you said at the final night at the Bikers Church, because it was prophetic. I think it was prophetic. You guys, everyone that's watching right now and is aware, you are the media. You're how the news gets spread. You guys are the ones that are going to make things happen in the country by talking to your friends, your neighbors, your family. And Teresa, I'm going to go ahead and let you speak, because I know you basically said this. This is kind of what the Lord gave you, and I want you to share it with the people. I thought it was powerful.
Well, thanks, Corey. So I was struggling with how to promote the event and the Health Charter Tour when Shawn had asked me to come along and help with him. And really, really struggling. Like, how do you break through that stronghold, right? How do you break through the stronghold? And I was trying to figure it out on my own. Problem number 1, right? It's like, oh, what could Teresa do? It's like problem number 2. So it came to me at about 3:30 in the morning, where he spoke to me and said, just for me to stop with the fussing in my own head. And he said, it's very, very simple. We just have to tell people to tell people. We can no longer accept information like this from people like Shawn, or yourselves, and just, digest it and share it with safe people, because we're still traumatized ourselves, just like everyone else in this country is traumatized still. We may pretend that we don't have fear, but we do. And we censor ourselves. We're censoring ourselves. So we need to now tell people to tell people. And that's the key, is the instruction to tell someone else to tell someone else. This is just very, very simple math. If we just calculus grade 10, and that was the word that was given to me. And I normally never go in front of the camera like this, and certainly at any of the events. But we decided that I would just come at the very end and just share what it was that was told for me to tell people. And then at the very end, it came through that everyone was then to be held on notice. Mm-hmm. They're on notice. You now know what your instructions are.
Yeah, I love that. Especially, Shawn, I feel like you guys did everything. You had a professional person do it, the press, releases. You paid for the wire. You got zero coverage. I don't think that's by mistake. I really, truly believe that's by divine, because I believe that goes in line with what Teresa is saying, what she heard from the Lord. Like, you're the media now. It's up to you guys. You have to be activated. And I think God wants his people activated. Go ahead.
Well, there's censorship. I mean, clearly the mainstream media is not going to follow this. And at the live events, if we talked about this, people would holler out, oh yeah, pharmaceutical advertising dollars. Well, that's likely true, but let's not forget government advertising dollars. It's not just that the government pays for CBC. The government keeps all the other media companies profitable by giving them large sums of money, and this has been going on for years. It should be illegal for any government to fund any media, let alone state media. But instead, we all know that we no longer have media that accurately report, and so it then becomes our responsibility to share truth with others. I don't know how much time we have, but if I can share about the health show.
Yeah, we got like 7 minutes.
Okay, well, because this is so important. The reality is in Canada, there's person after person after person finding complete freedom where they're facing a death sentence in our mainstream healthcare system, or they're totally disabled and they get well, but these stories are kept from others because it's illegal for the practitioners who know to share the stories. It's illegal for the manufacturers who know to share the stories. And so there's still people suffering. And let me just give you 2 examples. So when we're in Grand Prairie, one of the speakers was Karen Peters. Well, she's diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and she's suffering terribly. And her medical doctor says to her, there is no cure. We can slow the symptoms and control some of the inflammation with chemical drugs, but you will end up in a wheelchair, and this will kill you. Now, one of the chemical drugs that she was prescribed is methotrexate, which is a chemotherapy drug. And I've come to learn since then, because I was horrified, I've come to learn since then that this is very common. We are treating people in Canada with rheumatoid arthritis with chemotherapy drugs. So for a full year, Karen is injecting herself with the chemotherapy drug, and she shared with us in Grand Prairie that the drug made her want to die. She was just so sick that she wanted to be dead, and this effect would be for 3 or 4 days. She's still suffering from rheumatoid arthritis. She's still facing a wheelchair and death, and after a year of this, a friend convinces her, you got to go see a naturopathic doctor. And she doesn't want to because, they just don't know. Like, it's the medical doctors that have the training, which if you watch the online health show at nhppa.org, no, the naturopathic doctors are more trained. But in any event, she finds a naturopathic doctor who had been a medical doctor, and that gave this person enough credibility for her. So she goes to this naturopath. The first thing she says to him is, I have an incurable illness. Mm-hmm. And the first thing he says to her is, there are no incurable illnesses. Then he cures her illness with nutrition and natural health products. She's not on any drugs. She's not suffering in pain anymore. She doesn't have rheumatoid arthritis anymore. Well, I'm sharing this on Parliament Hill, this same story, and a person named Nelda comes up to me and says, that's my story, except I was on methotrexate for 7 years. And I'll back up and say Karen's naturopath said, if you stayed on that drug, it'll give you cancer. Well, Nelda's sharing with me, I was on it for 7 years and it gave me cancer. And so how many Karens and Neldas are there in Canada being injected weekly with chemotherapy drugs in Canada, wishing they were dead, not knowing that they can be cured, not knowing that they can have hope, not knowing that they can be freed from this darkness? We're not supposed to have hell on earth. We're supposed to be healthy and free. And if we don't share this with people, if we don't share this online health show, this is why we're telling these forbidden stories, is so that, and it's every condition under the sun is spoken about at this health show. If people don't come to understand that there's this whole natural health community and they can find hope and they can find freedom, then they're going to continue to suffer. Like one thing that's happened to me is I've just found that I'm now, I'm grieving the fact of just how awful, I'll just say it, our system's evil. There's no other way around it. Our mainstream medical system, in my opinion, is completely evil.
I know on the phone you shared with me something about Health Canada. Do you want to say that out loud now? I thought the stats, because number 1 cause of death, number 2 cause of death, number 3 cause of death. Do you guys want to share that?
Well, okay. So first of all,
it's an interesting way to look at it. That's all I'm saying.
I'm going to have to be brief because I think we only have a couple of minutes left. But all of these health shows they will be online on the nhppa.org site. The opening on October 25th, I explained this really clearly. But the reality is Health Canada, that has control of our food supply, has allowed our food to become so toxic that all of us carry this awful toxic load. And under our Health Canada's watch, the nutrients in our food have basically become non-existent. And we need a whole bunch of nutrients to be healthy. And if we don't have them, we're unhealthy and we become chronically sick. I'm of the opinion now, after this health show and all these experts, that there's 3 leading causes of death in Canada, which are toxic overload, malnutrition. Malnutrition's the first. And then a combination of toxic overload and malnutrition. Well, the 3rd leading cause of death, like we would, you go to, our main stats, heart disease, cancer, synthetic pharmaceutical drugs taken as directed. So our pharmaceutical drugs taken as directed are our 3rd leading cause of death.
Wow.
They also play a leading role in one of the other top 10 leading causes of death, highly preventable medical errors. So what I shared, Corey, is in my opinion now, the leading cause of death in Canada is Health Canada because they've managed this toxic food supply. No, but we could ask the question, is it possible?
Yeah.
Is it possible for our food supply to be more toxic without the citizens becoming aware that it's toxic and demanding change? Like, is it possible? And so, here we've got this toxic food supply. We've got this food supply where you can no longer be healthy. Even if you eat right, you have to supplement. Health Canada makes it illegal for us to supplement in the amounts we need. So if you try to provide above the recommended daily allowance, Health Canada will shut you down, fine you, jail you. But if you follow those recommended daily allowances, you will end up being chronically sick. So it's actually illegal in Canada due to Health Canada for us to get the nutrition we need. So bearing in mind, just how dangerous the chemical drugs are, officially they're our 3rd leading cause of death. But, you watch the online health show, well, heart disease and cancer, the first 2, people are finding full relief and surgeries are canceled and all of this. They get restored to health with natural health products, but we can't share that with you. So in my opinion, Health Canada's the leading cause of death. They're creating the environment of toxicity and malnutrition, which is leading to most of our chronic illness. They're censoring truthful health information, and they're pushing on us synthetic chemical drugs, which are the 3rd leading cause of our death.
Wow.
One of the things that bothers me is that people are so ingrained of what they've done all these years that to turn them around almost seems an impossibility. Like, they look at me like I'm some wacko when I make the suggestion that the food that we buy in our grocery stores is not good for us And what we need to do is get organic, and hopefully it's truly organic, but get organic. And you need to buy differently. Instead of buying a big bag of carrots, for example, buy 3 or 4 carrots that you're going to eat that week. Buy smaller portions on a more regular basis than you used to. So you go and you buy smaller things that are nutritious to you and go from there. But people still have their faith, believe it or not, their faith in the traditional way of health. And even though they know they're taking a drug and it's not good for them, they still believe that somehow that's going to help them over, what you guys have been doing. So I'm so glad you're doing it. Hopefully we can cover lots of information that you have to give to our viewers.
Yeah, and you guys, we're out of time, but if you've got the time, I want to have you on tomorrow's show again, because we didn't get to talk about what happened on the Hill.
Absolutely. Would be pleased to.
Dad, we're giving away a free booklet called The Living Truth. It's yours absolutely free. It's a devotional study on 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. Alan pulls out the gold on these 2 verses. I guarantee you bypassed them. You didn't understand what they were talking about. Dad pulls out the gold on these verses, and it's just brilliant. You can go to our website, gotalktruth.com, click on resources, fill out the form. We'll send it to you in the mail. Did I describe that okay for you, Dad? It's brilliant.
I think you over-described it, son.
Well, who does a booklet on 2 verses? You do. And it's worth it. It's worth it for sure. And you can get it for absolutely free on our website, gotalktruth.com. Click on resources. If you want to help support our mission, keep this conversation in truth on the air. We're viewer supported. We don't take government funds or special interest groups or lobbyists. It's only because of the generosity of those that watch this show that we are continuing to broadcast the truth on the air. If you'd like to support us, you can go to our website, gotalktruth.com/donate. Many different ways to give digitally that way. If you want to do it through the mail, you can. You can make your gift payable to Talk Truth and send it to 246 Stewart Green Southwest, Suite 3260, Calgary, Alberta, T3H3C8. And if you're in the U.S., you can send your gift to 4904 South Power Road, Suite 103-152, Mesa, Arizona, 85212. And if you'd like prayer, you can call our toll-free line for prayer anytime. Someone will pray with you. All right, Dad, we're out of time. We'll see you guys later.
Love you.